Yeah. Okay. It's okay. Hi, welcome. I'd like to start the program of our conference. The theme this year is innovation to enhance productivity, a food system transformation. We have a great panel to start with today. Okay. So I will first tell you the list of topics that will be covered in this conference, and then we will go to our presentation today. That's extremely interesting to urban agriculture and desert agriculture. You will see what I mean in a few minutes. We'll do like a 4-minute introduction. The conference will address the following topics to raise awareness. First of all, the Kingdom's agricultural initiatives will be covered during this conference, latest trends in Saudi agriculture technologies landscape, the strategies to achieve sustainable food security. This has always been for multiple years. Those of you that have been with us, Holland has been with us about 4 decades, so they know that food security has always been a very high priority here. And we have the people responsible like SALIC and now the new initiative SABL. Their total focus is they are the PIF companies, that's the Public Investment Fund, and their total focus is food security and sustainability. So what does that mean in simple language? If there is any requirement, demand that is not being produced locally, it's not like, has not reached, supply has not reached, or self-sufficiency has not reached 100%, then SALIC will intervene, and they go 2 ways. So international companies can come and do joint ventures here and to meet the missing demand, or they can also, SALIC will invest overseas to also bring this kind of demand, this missing supply. Okay. The Kingdom, we've been, since you're seeing the 42nd edition, we can tell you a little bit about the early editions, like 40-some years back. It's changed dramatically. For instance, we used to have cows that will come and deliver at our shows in those days. But you can see now from looking at Marai and all the dairy producers, they are net exporters now. The dairy sector is actually one of the key sectors in Saudi Arabia that actually has become a net exporter. They produce over 100% of the needs here. And it all started initially through our first 29 years, we had the only venues. So everybody, cows and Microsoft, came through us to participate in the Kingdom sector. So we're very happy to have you again, and we really appreciate the technologies you bring with you. The other topics will be latest investments in agriculture will be covered, the productivity and quality challenges, precision agriculture, which I think you'll hear a lot about in this panel, okay? Precision agriculture related 4.0 agriculture technologies. Most of you know 4.0. It's a fancy word for artificial intelligence and robotics. But today in desert environments, you can imagine that greenhouses are going to become very important, and we'll talk about that, the other justification for that in Saudi. And when you have these mega greenhouses, we're talking right about an hour south of here, we have one that I know about 68 hectares, the other one is now 85 acres. So we're not talking about the little small ones. You can fly drones, you can send robots to do lots of things, and of course you have to control these environments in high technology with lots of sensors, recycling water in a desert environment, all these kind of things. You have the right panel today to listen to. The other things we can talk about, the most advanced urban farming solutions, the vertical and the greenhouse farming, which this group is the right, this panel is excellent for that. Livestock production and processing, we have quite a few people on the floor on that topic, but because that's still, I mean, the support that the farmers, the transformation to much more advanced, especially in the in the rural areas, because it's, the ones I'm mentioning to you, like Marai and that are on the floor, they are mega operations. They're not the little mom and pop, but also we have lots of rural areas that requires different solutions. Food processing, packaging, and supply chain, of course, are also very important parts of sustainability. I'll tell you a little bit more about why greenhouses and urban farming in Saudi Arabia. Typically, most populations around the world, 52% of the population lives in urban areas. In Saudi Arabia, it's closer to 82%. I've known, when those of you that started with us for a few decades ago, Riyadh was 750,000 people. Now Riyadh is 8 million and growing. The Crown Prince would like to see it to go 10, 12 or more in a few years as well. The other thing you should know about Saudi Arabia, you all know it's a desert, so you know the requirements in a desert environment to, let's say, environmental control, where the role of greenhouses come back in for that, okay? It's much easier to have environmental control in a closed environment. Same thing with water, which is also a scarce product here. Even though the kingdom has 18% of the world capacity in desalination, I mean, we have big investments in desalination, and, that is still growing, but still, if you are, on the outskirts of this urban area, and you're having your farm, you would like to have more circular solutions where you can really make use of the water and reuse it clean and, in that closed environment. So again, what's unique also about the kingdom is that the agricultural areas are not near the three, one of them, I guess, in the east of the country is not very far from the small urban area in the east. But in the central area, you're talking 6.5 hours to the north maybe, and if you want to get it from the southern part, we're talking now 7 to 10 hours drive. So again, that calls for, greenhouses and this kind of solutions much closer to where the urban area is, and to supply, if you want to feed people, 8 million people want lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers every day, it's much more efficient to have it nearby, okay? So also among the speakers at this panel this week, you will see 70 speakers from 21 countries. So we have a quite international group that brings lots of innovation and new ideas, and of course that is the theme of this event. And actually, the total number of countries participating on the floor, we're talking about 34 countries. We're talking about maybe 11 official pavilions. So we're very happy to have all of you here, and we thank you on behalf of the government and our people here for your contribution to this very important area. Okay. We also have high-ranked officials that are enablers, that are active here. Many of them are on the floor. There is lots of government agencies. The total job they have is to help anyone that wants to operate in this sector. So there is a national plan. There's a clear national plan for, because I met some guests today. They said, well, we need, they're very, first time in Saudi, they were very surprised to see how developed things are, including this show, and they said, well, they need more information. The good news, the government does have a lot more information. There's clear plans. Even the investment authority sometimes makes studies about, okay, if you want to enter the business of dried onions, they've done a feasibility study, and they will tell you what that costs. They have the same thing, what do you do if you have a big supply of tomatoes that you cannot use in one season? So they have done these studies, feasibility studies, that somebody can get them for free. So there's lots of things, plus the support. if somebody is going to do processing and packaging here, the land in the industrial areas is readily available at a very competitive, sometimes it's almost free, okay? You have electricity that's provided cheaper than households pay. So there are many solutions that can help any venture here. And the officials are here on the floor. You will see Salek and Sabel and many of the others are on the floor, so you can talk to them. We also have CEOs and managers of agricultural corporations. We have maybe 8 CEOs speaking at this time, so it's nice to also meet some executives in the sector here and see, share information about understanding the market and what they need. And we also have renowned researchers from around the world. I think we even have from Davis, from California. I mean, and Davis is, if you don't know where that is, it's pretty far north, in California. Above, it's a part of the UC system, University of California system, but they're here on the floor and they're joining us. They're number 1 in agriculture also in that area, and they're with us this time. So I think I've done enough. Mr. Giovanni here will take over and introduce the panel of great experts, where we have water experts, we have sensor experts, we have, again, the latest technologies in this group, sustainability, circular economy, all that sort of things. Mr. Giovanni, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akram, and thank you very much for the introduction as well. Big applause indeed. And it's definitely an honor that as the Dutch, we are privileged to open today's seminar as well on how the Dutch can contribute to, let's say, the vision of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia when it comes to food security. And let me first introduce myself. My name is Giovanni Angelini. Despite the Italian name, I also have Dutch roots. I live in the Gulf, and I am the representative for an organization called Dutch Greenhouse Delta, which is a sector representative. We are a non-profit organization representing like 40 leading agtech companies from the Netherlands that also have sincere interest to operate here in the Middle East. And I'm very happy that part of these companies are today on our stage. You will find a lot of them also at the Netherlands Pavilion here at Saudi Agriculture. And I was also pleased to know this morning from our agricultural counselor that the Netherlands has been involved with Saudi agriculture since its very first edition. So it's good that we are back here on the 42nd edition as well. So it's an honor. Today we want to showcase some examples on why the Netherlands as a small country is known as a leading country when it comes to agri-tech solutions, and how we can contribute even in climate zones that have nothing to do with the Netherlands. As you know, we are in northwestern Europe. It's cold, rainy. We talk about weather all day. Here in this region we talk about traffic all day. How come that we are still a leading company when it comes to feeding the world? Second largest exporter if it comes to food. Even we produce a lot of food locally, but we're also a bit of a in-between station between other countries and the rest of the world because of our logistic infrastructure. Today we want to showcase that we do this by working together. Collaboration, I think that's the most important word we need to use. Collaboration between the public sector, our governments, whether local or on federal level. Collaboration with the knowledge institutes, whether commercial institutes or universities, universities for applied sciences and so on. And most importantly also, of course, the private sector. Whether they are competitors or not, they work together because we think we can learn from each other. And today we would like to highlight that also in today's panel session. So I'm more than happy to introduce them. And first of all, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Hein Molenkamp sitting next to us. Also a sector representative, but then for something very important that also applies for this region, water. Because without water there is no agriculture, Hein?
That's true.
Yeah.
And there is no food, and there is nothing without water, in fact, so we cannot even live without water. And water is getting more and more scarce, and I don't have to tell it here, but even in the Netherlands, you don't suspect it probably, but even in the Netherlands, we see drought type of situations since the last 4 or 5 years. So, and still we have a lot of water coming from all kinds of rivers flowing through the Netherlands, going to the sea. So that's an interesting mixture of issues. And water, where I'm from, Water Alliance, which is a cluster on water technology. So water is also, of course, flooding type of issues, but we as Water Alliance look to water quality type of issues. And I can explain a little bit more if you want later or right now about how we have built up in the Netherlands a great ecosystem around water technology. Because bringing new technologies to the market is really something where you have to collaborate. What you already said, collaboration is key between knowledge institutes, between governmental organizations, and also between businesses. Businesses bring the technology to the market at the end of the day, but to get new technology there, it's really a matter of collaboration, not only in the Netherlands, but also global collaboration in my experience. So, and we need a lot of new technologies to cope with all the issues what we see in the world.
Yeah.
And of course, food and water are closely related, but there is also no production and there is no chemical industry without water, and there is no hospital where typical water technology plays a key role, often for specialized types of water. So it's not only about producing drinking water and treating wastewater, that's obvious, that is water technology. But as we have a cluster with some 220 members in the Netherlands, all producing all kinds of technology, let's say 70% of those members are not working with utilities, but having that technology in a market like food production or chemical production or whatever type of sector, water plays a crucial role. So therefore, collaboration, in my respect, is very important, and that's the great thing here, that we show this collaboration also from the Netherlands.
Okay, and we will talk about some additional examples later, so
yes.
Thank you very much for the introduction. What we also realize as the Netherlands is when we bring the technology to this region, we sometimes get the response from local stakeholders like, okay, it's nice that you bring in the technology, but maybe it's too advanced for the region because we are used to a different kind of technology. Or is it applicable? So can you be adaptive to what is really needed in this area, and so on and so on. Or it is even costly. And even when we are able to supply, let's say, particular greenhouse technology to this region, it's also the question then, how do you operate such a facility? And how do you manage it? And how can you make sure that there's a continuance? And one of the companies that is specialized in it is Food Ventures, because that's what you do, right, Dirk?
That's what we do. We are Dutch, but we are not operating one single greenhouse in the Netherlands.
Here you go.
All the greenhouses that we run are outside the Netherlands, from US to Central Eastern Europe and Asia. And it all started because I was amazed about the number of Dutch technology projects outside the Netherlands, built by technology providers from the Netherlands. I believe the number is 80 or 90% of high-tech greenhouses outside the Netherlands origins from the Netherlands. But when you go to those projects, they often run at 70, 80% of their capacity max and still are making money. And that was surprising to me. I asked myself the question, like, how come that Dutch growers can only survive if they squeeze the last kilogram out of that square meter? And it's a competition of being the best with the best tools, but maximizing your outputs. But growers worldwide seem to have a living somehow with moderate performance. And that's how we started developing an operator. We like to think of it as the Hilton of the greenhouses. You have people that want to own assets, but you need operators like you would invite the Hilton as well if you start a hotel.
And you need clients. You need an offtake.
We need a business case to start with.
Yeah.
So the answer is often like, yes, we can produce in this region, we like to ask ourselves the question, should we do that? And is this the right technology at the right place? Can we make it work? Does it serve all the stakeholders, including the owners, the operators, and the off-takers?
We're definitely going to continue that conversation as well. But without operations, without water, there's another key element that is extremely important, and that is knowledge sharing. Well, we also realized in the Netherlands that in the past we were known as like, okay, these are the suppliers that bring the technology, and it was like, okay, thank you very much, goodbye, have fun with it. But now we realize, because we also had to learn our lessons, by the way, to focus on the knowledge sharing part, the education and training, etc. And one of the companies with it, our consortium is Delphi, and that is what you do.
Yes, thank you so much, Giovanni. I, by the way, hope that if people start with technology, they still have fun with it.
Yeah.
But for sure, knowledge is one of the keys, I think, and maybe also one of the underestimated parts of how can you become successful. And I think if we look at what do countries in the world look like if they invest in knowledge, they're among the most successful partners, countries also in greenhouse technology. It's very interesting. I would probably not expect that also myself even, but it is true that if we look, for instance, at the Netherlands, what has made us so strong is the fabric of knowledge, technology, varieties of tomatoes, cucumbers and whatever, and that connected together. And actually what I think also my fellow partners here at this table, we love to work together. And we love to see how can we improve the technology, and then we of course think about what knowledge do we need to operate it well. And if you do not have the knowledge, the technology, well, in the most worst case, it will fail. If you do have the knowledge, your technology becomes successful. Within Delphi, we speak about the knowledge wheel. We do not only implement knowledge, like we say, we do consultancy, training, this kind of things, but we also do the research part. And the research part is critical, I would say, to developing new knowledge, not on a high academic level only, but also on a very practical level, bringing it back to the operations within the country. And that is actually, if we think about our focus also here, Arab Peninsula and Saudi, the kingdom itself, I think that would be really our vision. How can we make something work that is innovative, continuously actually improving itself, and that is this cycle of knowledge development, implementation, and bringing it back. And I see some of our partners sitting over there, like Dakash, with whom we are hoping to start something like a research center here within the kingdom. So
Good to know. And we heard Mr. Akram saying as well, there's a lot of farming activity outside the cities, in rural areas. And that's also where your specialization lies, to even help the farmers in rural areas to adapt to a more sustainable upgrade.
absolutely, because we do not only work in greenhouses or controlled environment systems, we also have teams on arable farming, out of vegetables. There is a top fruit, stone fruit and other things. And also there we see how can we make a sustainable system work, using less water, for instance. We have all kinds of technology that we have used and creating some sort of QMS system on water and irrigation so that we can really make more efficient use of water and really get better production. That is, I think, in the end what we like to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Arnoud. And then you would think like, okay, are we as the Netherlands only producing or offering high-tech glass greenhouses, yes or no? Or do we also have other types of greenhouses? Well, we do. Amongst us is Rovero, Jacob van Helder, Managing Director. Can you explain a little bit what Rovero is doing and how you contribute to areas like the Middle East?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you know, but 85% of the greenhouses in the world are made out of poly, not out of glass. And we have a very special position in the Netherlands because we are, well, there are maybe one or maybe one other one that produces polyfilm houses in the Netherlands, and that gives us a very nice advantage and a nice special position. What we do for more than 55 years now is provide greenhouses that are made out of poly, but that solve things. So we don't sell houses, we sell solutions. And what I extremely like a lot about the corporations in the Netherlands is that glass greenhouses companies are talking to us and the other way around, and we talk to each other, how can we help each other to achieve a better solution for the clients? Because it's not only about selling and running away. What I see more and more in our Dutch community is that we find it important to stay alert, stay involved, help the clients, the growers to grow. Because yes, we find sustainability very expensive or very important.
And expensive.
Yeah, but yeah, sometimes. Yeah. But by the way, all our houses are produced 100% energy neutral, and our CO2 is 50% lower than glass greenhouses. So yes, it's not expensive, we find it important. But at the end, there is a grower who needs to make money. And that's what I like so much about our group, is that we discuss together, okay, if we do everything in the most high-tech way, then you get a great house, but it's unaffordable. Nobody can make money there. And more we see that we combine things. So, for instance, we work together with a glass greenhouse builder. They say to the client, well, maybe you do a partial glass house and the rest you use poly. Then the total is more profitable. And that's new. That's also great. What we are entrepreneurs for many centuries, and we know how to work together as well.
Yeah, even if you're competitors in a way,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
We stay competitors a little bit.
And last but not least, we talked about water with Hein already, but water supply, I think, is also extremely important. Also in this region, where do you get your water from? But also more importantly, where do you store it if you have some water reservoir? So GNAP, or GNAP in English maybe. Simon, welcome. The only Brit between all the Dutch here, for your information.
Which is absolute proof that collaboration works.
Yes, indeed.
Because I've been adopted this week by my Dutch colleagues, as much as we collaborate as a sector anyway. But you talked about food security. Without water security, you have no food security. At GNAP, we've been, or GNAP, I should say, we've been working for 75 years selling water security systems, which obviously includes storage. This means that we have the right technology. We have a simple solution, which is membranes and steels, which create a storage solution which gives control to the growers. So that gives that security in order to be able to grow and utilize the water as you need. So you capture, you protect the water, you utilize. And this is where the collaboration works. We're one small part of the greenhouse and water system. We provide the storage, somebody else does the filtration, somebody else does the pumping, the irrigation, the greenhouses. But as all my colleagues have already said, this all comes together into one combined system which works. And a fine example of collaboration within the Netherlands is we put a lot of lagoons into the Netherlands, and this can be very large membranes where you need 100 or 150 people to pull it in. Everybody from a competitor farm in the westland of the Netherlands will come and help, irrespective of whether they have they're all competitors, but they all come and help to provide a water security for their competitor to build their own greenhouse. So it's just another fine example of the collaboration that I see.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, you do, and it's also, that reminds me that I have a question that maybe aligns with what you're saying right now. So from your experience, what are the most effective ways to align this kind of technology and the example you give from Western Holland to Saudi agriculture priorities?
Exactly my question.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, thank you.
I think that I'm lucky enough to travel around the world working with GNAP. We have a global outreach or global reach. the people I've spoken to in Saudi Arabia believe that water is they are unique that they have a water problem. Everywhere has a water problem. Hein was talking about Holland or Netherlands earlier. I live in Wales in the UK. This year we had a water problem. So it's not unique to the Middle East, it's not unique to equatorial regions. It's a fact that rain events are changing, climate is changing, which means that we have a situation where we need to capture the water whenever it's available. And I've really gone off on a tangent and forgotten the question. So
I think one of the questions would be, how do you actually face the challenges that the specific Saudi context also, because it is different, of course, in collecting water here
yeah.
and maintaining good quality water.
Yeah, I mean, well, when we have a water system, this could be an open water tank or an open lagoon in Northern Europe. But in Saudi Arabia, you have a huge evaporation. You have huge dust issues. You have the potential of algae. We have cover solutions, so we can completely close the water within a tank. Now, even if it's within the greenhouse, sometimes you need to do that in order to maintain the coolness of the temperature. If it's outside, I was talking to a greenhouse company earlier, and they're looking for insulated tanks. We also have insulated tanks, which initially we designed for colder climates, but in actual fact, it will keep the water cool in an environment here and stop it from heating up. So it gives you an optimum temperature range of water that allows you to put it into your irrigation system and gain the yield that you need from your plants. But in terms of technology, we work hand in hand, of course, with pump manufacturers. We work with filtration manufacturers. The ideal situation would be, because you have a salinity problem in Saudi Arabia, which then gives you clean water. Now, the clean water vessel needs to be covered and protected, and in some cases insulated, which then allows you to distribute it and put it into the right place. So again, it's going back to this emphasis on controllability, given the grower the control of the water as a resource. But we also must accept that there's a brine which comes out of this as well. So
I wanted to ask you, yeah, what do you do with all the waste?
Quite what they do with the brine, I don't know, but there's got to be a way of recycling that. But of course, we can contain that. So that's an important factor as well. You don't only want to contain the good, you want to contain the brine to stop it going back into your aquifer in concentrations that you can't control. It's a little bit like as you go through the utilization, you go through your irrigation program, you've dosed the water, you put fertilizers in it, you need to bring it back around again into another storage unit. And again,
instead of dropping it on the land or in sea.
You can save up to 30% of your fertilizer cost by recycling water and recirculating it and putting it back into your water system in a controlled way. And again, we have storage systems for that. So rather than just a tank, we have a system. The system can be covers. The system can be different types of membranes depending on the climate, depending on the chemicals, and depending on the actual use of the grower.
Hein, representing Water Alliance, I hear a lot of technology required in this particular water sector.
And of course, you're totally right, Simon. There is a lot of technologies available, but looking to the huge challenges we see right now, but especially in the future, is that we also need technologies to be adapted to the lowest possible energy usage, to the potential reuse of nutrients which are in the water, or if you talk to the issue of brine, of course we see also here huge desalination plants on the seaside, but the issue of brine is not solved. It is brought back to the sea, and this is also environmentally an issue. How, besides that, how can we also reuse the water potential which is in the brine? So today you see there is developments going on, and that most of the time starts with startup type of companies who have smart ideas about that. Yeah. And it needs time to bring those technologies to the market, of course. First to prove it on a scientific or applied research level, but at the end of the day also in the market where you find your first launching customer. And if you look to brine type of treatments, I think there is technologies out there which are very promising. For instance, there is a rather young technology company who is already also active in the Saudi Arabia, more on the oil and gas type of business, where it's produced water, also having the same type of problem, where they can remove, pick up the brine and remove the salt as crystalline salt out of the water, and you get left with clear water which can be reused. So the whole challenge is how are we able to reduce as much of, recycle as much as possible.
Especially in a country where water is scarce.
Of course, we see it also on a household level. So we talk about glass houses, greenhouses here, of course, but it also is the same story in an individual house. So there is technologies out there today which are able to reuse the grey water from the house. That means there is the water from the shower and the washing machine, which saves 50% of the wastewater coming out of each house. And you can use that water if
For
it
landscaping.
is for landscaping, for washing the cars, for all kinds of stuff, and especially for flushing toilets. Because how in the world did we develop toilets which is flushable with clear drinking water? Which this water is so scarce, we use it. It's not now. If it's not now, we use it at least in the future for drinking water purposes and not for secondary purposes. So we have to think about more smart type of technologies there. And it's interesting and there the collaboration comes back to talk also here in Saudi Arabia with the organizations who are in that field interested.
Well, Giovanni, there's one disadvantage of technology, which is, and we've experienced that first hand, unfortunately. I think we all like to find solutions in technology, and we're all excited about technology, and we're trying to find that one thing that makes us better. But if that in our case, that osmosis system, which was one of the best of the world, fails in the steppes of Kazakhstan at a time of COVID, and you have no after sales, you have no technicians around you, you have nobody to help you, you are without water, and you are out of business within 24 hours. So I would hope that anyone who likes to seek solutions in technology is also combining that with the responsibility of bringing that to markets, including the after sales, including the training and usage of it,
And
making
maybe
sure.
even including automation, despite low labor costs here, it's...
Yeah, for as long as it's resilient, right? So the automation has this flip side of if it doesn't work, then nobody knows how to fix it,
No,
and you're again out of business. So
Fair play.
that building a resilient solution around technology is absolutely key, especially in a relatively frontier market where we are now working in, and where we're bringing new technologies. We have to take as industry also the responsibility of the continuation of operations in case it fails or it needs any maintenance.
Arnoud, sorry, go on, Simon.
This is where we need to build in fat in the system. I mean,
Absolutely.
You talk to some people about water storage, and they have enough water for 2 days. And if you have a borehole pump, which is 400 meters down, pumping up water, you can't get that out in 2 days. You can't repair it in 2 days. So you have to build in some sustainable fat within your system. So you have maybe 5 or 6 days of storage, or 10 days of storage, or even modular more storage in different places that allows you to bring water in when you need it and utilize it when you want. But also it's about the efficiency. It's about using irrigation systems, updating irrigation systems, and a full update of an irrigation system can pay back within 2 or 3 years, just purely from having direct water to roots or direct water to flower, to plant, whatever you need, and then recirculating the water. And that payback is essential for people to understand that you don't really have to spend a lot of money on high technology. You have to spend money on right technology, and that is the key to everything. And it's all about control, and it's all about having enough fat within your system to go forward and grow, do what they do best, which is grow things.
Yeah. Arnoud, within Delphi, you work a lot in this region already, and you even team with research institutes like Estidama here in the kingdom, or Silal in the United Arab Emirates, you must recognize all these topics that have been discussed so far.
Yes, of course we do. I think one of the key things that we see is that the technology that is being developed is sometimes very good. Also the knowledge that is actually being developed, we call it in general knowledge, is very good. But sometimes the gap between that knowledge development and that implementation of knowledge is quite huge. We see that there's farmers struggling with very simple questions if it comes down to, for instance, how to use water in the best possible ways. And there's high-tech technology, and I understand it because I see our researchers in the Netherlands or worldwide, they just love to see how can we do this LED lights, this light spectrum up to the max in the pre-growing phase already so that the crop develops well. It's wonderful for researchers, but bringing it to a level where farmers can really benefit from it, I think that is one of the key things. And that is, of course, also what, if we talk about water and water solutions, how can we bring these water solutions to a level that also the smallholder farmers or, let me say, the people here in the kingdom can really benefit from that in the best possible ways. And I really hope that we can, that we can support in that way, bridging that gap between the knowledge that is being developed and bringing that knowledge to farmers in a very broad way, that we can do training on that. We have some very good people who can support on that. We originate, I'll tell you a secret, but we originate from the extension services in the Netherlands. So we have always been working as partly as how can we really work well for the farmers, the growers, in the country.
And make it adaptive.
Sorry, this is where the Netherlands really showed the collaboration, because you collect data from all over the world and then share it.
Yes.
And that's what it's about, because there are similar problems everywhere. And you can learn from here to take it somewhere else and vice versa. And the knowledge sharing is key to the future.
And I think to add a little bit to that, Simon, one of the things that we have learned in the Netherlands is if you cooperate, you actually gain more together.
Absolutely.
And even farmers, and I hope that that system, I know that this is in other cultures sometimes a little bit more challenging, but farmers working together in knowledge groups or whatever, they can really learn a lot. And that is what I hope that we can establish also here, create training groups, maybe with the Ministry of Agriculture, to see how can we make these nice technologies that we are here around this table, how can we make it work also for the, let me say, the more basic tech farmers. I think I like the term appropriate tech very much.
Yeah, I think it's also worth mentioning that as the Netherlands, we have a public-private collaboration running here in the Gulf region with the main focus on Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. And part of that public-private collaboration is a so-called K2K, knowledge-to-knowledge program, where our partners are involved, but we also team with local stakeholders. For example, last year, we ran a very successful K2K program for the Kingdom, together with the Topian, Neom Food Company, and Estidama. This year, they actually continued that K2K program under the National Development Program of the Kingdom. And some of the companies from the Netherlands are also involved there, because we want to create impact. So we bring in, for example, internship positions and maybe even career opportunities and so on and so on. And this is something we will be focusing on also for the future. Because, Jacco, I can also imagine that when you talk to an ordinary farmer, they may ask questions like, why does controlled environment agriculture matter for a region like this? But more importantly, why should I invest in it? Because if I do, a farmer may ask you, my crop will be more expensive than my neighbors. And with the open economy policy, I wonder if it is also profitable. And then they look at the commercial feasibility of such greenhouses. What is your answer then at that moment, being Rovero?
Well, not only Rovero, I think that also the colleagues are saying the same thing. You always have to look at your specific situation. So in what climate are you? Because Saudi is not all desert and hot. So you have to choose the right tech. So high-tech glass houses with fantastic automation in cooling and everything is for some areas the best solution there is. It will give you high yields, it will give you great quality. But if you're in a different region, it's maybe not necessary, and then you're over-engineering. So our answer to that is, well, let's make a business case together. So let's look at your situation. What are you growing? How much do you want to grow? Where are your clients? Is it locally based? Are you growing for the Saudi, for just food security? Or do you also want to export to other countries? Because then in the winter months, like November, December, January, the climate is here perfect. In Western Europe, it's terrible. So you can sell if it's food, you can sell it to Europe for very high prices.
And sorry to interrupt you there, we had that. There was one time we visited a company here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and they said, we will export tomatoes to the Netherlands. And we were laughing because, you know, a bit disrespectful, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we thought, like, we produce our own tomatoes.
Yeah.
And guess what? This company last year started exporting tomatoes to the Netherlands.
Yeah, and as an example, we are now working on a case where it is 6 months lower than 30 degrees. And the client wanted cooling, because everybody has cooling, so I need cooling. And he was insisting and insisting and insisting. And we said, well, sorry, then we will not provide you our greenhouse, because we don't think it's the wise choice to make. You have nature, you have ventilation, you can open the sides, you can open the roof in our case. We have poly houses that open and close in 1 minute. And with maximum ventilation, this was for strawberries, you can achieve so much more. And I think, you know, if you grow strawberries outside, the taste is way more better, more fruitful.
Depending on the pesticides you use, I have to make that.
Of course, but for that, you can close the house, you can use insect screens. There are all kind of solutions, and there are very engineered screenings that can protect you from the heat or from the cold nights. And in that case, we made a complete business case, including employees, including packing materials, including everything. And we showed him, with our solution, you earn this greenhouse back in 3 years.
But knowledge based on what? On what is local going on, or other similar climate zones in the world? So what kind of knowledge do you use then to apply it, to make it adaptive to?
It's always a combination. We always say use the Saudi wisdom combined with the Dutch entrepreneurship. So we have solutions, we have options, we have very nice inventions, but we need to talk to the local people and join together forces, because then you can find the best solution. Because if we come here to say you have to buy this or that and that, it's very good, and you sell it and you run away, that's not a relation. You will not survive for a long time in the market. Yeah. So more and more we try to combine the knowledge.
Dirk, is the Saudi wisdom with Dutch solutions, is that also a strategy you're using on behalf of Food Ventures?
Not only in Saudi, but in all the countries that we go to here. So with the assessment of whether there is a business case, that's often where, often we get involved when a greenhouse is already there. It's already built, it's already in operation. Oops, it doesn't work, can you help us out? Most often that's the wrong technology in the wrong place, you can never fix it.
Really?
Yeah, and we've seen too many already failing that way. So it's important to start with the question again, like, hey, is this the right technology at the right place, and should you be doing this? What we've learned over the last 15 years, we've been working in 10 different climates, 10 different countries. What we've learned is, at the end of the day, you're selling a head of lettuce, you're selling a crop of tomatoes or a strawberry, but it's a commodity at the end of the day. And the fantasies of getting premiums are over. Some of them raised successful money on the back of that story, but they all, at the end of the day, were competing open field or lower tech solutions, which had actually...
Or imports from other countries.
Yeah, or imports, which were actually pretty good solutions, and customers were happy with that. So what we see at best is a 20% premium if it's localized and customers like to buy it because they know where it's coming from and they know it's produced in a better way. But that sort of sets your benchmark. So what we typically do is, what's the current offering? how could we improve it if we have year-round supply and a more local production, and how much better is it then? So we give or take add 20 to 25% on what's already available here, and that's also the way that we're looking at Saudi right now.
But what about then the offtake market, the retailer? They have a very strong position when it comes to which farmer they want to work with, between brackets.
Yeah, but that's not different in the U.S., right? I mean,
Okay,
so
but we are in the kingdom here.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's a worldwide global issue. They all say we want the best and we want local and we want sustainable and so on. But if the current offering is there and customers are pretty satisfied with it, maybe not perfectly satisfied with it, they cannot afford to have a supplier which is in their shelf at a price double of the market and the wet markets or the other offerings. So you have to be realistic in what you are able to bring, especially at scale, because we are all thinking of this as an industry at scale. We want to offer solutions that can feed, I don't know, the half or 80% of the population. Then you are looking at a commodity, and your pricing has to be close to what the current offering is.
So what is your message then for the smallhold farmer? I mean, there are a lot of smallhold farmers in the region, and I would like to raise that question also to you, Arnoud.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there...
Go to scale?
Yeah, there is no option. In the long run, there is no option of being a small-scale farmer. I think that's very difficult because the regulations are requiring more and more food safety regulations, environmental regulations. They require investments that you cannot make on a smaller scale. So I think it's extremely difficult to deliver on all those promises that the government over time will insist apply for any production company, and it drives you towards scale.
That happened in the Netherlands as well, Arnoud?
Of course it did, yes. But I think, I want to add to that, to what you're saying. I think that there is still a nice market for local producers and even for smallholder farmers. But they have to, of course, know what is my season, what am I producing, and can I make a sort of distinguishing brand with that? I think that is also what you see in other countries in the world. Of course, it is very maybe normal marketing technique, but see if you can create something interesting for the demand that is maybe latent, but it is existing. There's existing something. If you have a good quality product that comes from your own land, people will always like it because they like the entrepreneurship also. And secondly, I think also wanted to come back to what Simon was saying. There is, of course, a lot to say about the use of water. I think we did a study for Topion about if we would first the water was available always. No pricing, no other. It was fantastic. We could make any business case work. Then all of a sudden, they started to incorporate a little bit about, well, maybe it is 25 cents per cube. Then they said, well, let's now calculate what is the real costs if we think about desalination and getting the water out of the Red Sea and getting it to the place that we will. €1 per cube. At that moment, you know that there is a very difficult business case if you have to really pay that. And then it comes down to if you can have and train smallholder farmers about how can you use water in an efficient way, can you do it in the right season, can you do nice irrigation techniques, drip irrigation. You challenged me a little bit on the outdoor crops. Of course it's nice, do some netting, do some other things, make sure that you have drought-resistant crops. There is a business case, I think, for that. I would
well, yes and no. I'm going to play devil's advocate later on. But first to you, Simon. Do you agree what Arnoud is saying?
Yeah, I think it's all about precision. You can get yield from precision. However, we have to remember that farmers now, or growers, are now competing with the population for water. In Saudi Arabia, we have a population which has grown 36% in the last 15 years. We don't have 36% more water here now. You have less water per capita available, which means that farmers and growers have to look at more precision for their water. because they're competing with the population. And the government wants to feed the population and give the population water, but at the same time they want to grow their own food security. So the only way to do that is with precise water use.
Joko, you want to respond to that?
Yes, because there are
A bit
also...
closer to the microphone, please. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Because there are also some low-tech solutions that provide big innovations, and that's available for the smaller growers right away. I'll give you one example. There's a new poly in the market worldwide, and it's self-ventilating. That means that the hot air that goes up now goes out through holes in the roof, in the ridge. And what that means, it means that the temperature goes down. It means that the humidity goes down. When the humidity goes down, the plant needs less water. So in that way you can save already a lot of water, even if you're a small grower, you just have some tunnels. So let's not only talk about the big, new, great, fantastic inventions that are being made worldwide, but let's also focus on the many growers, not only here, but in all parts of the world, that needs to survive with just maybe 1 hectare or half an hectare of tunnels, and he needs good poly. And poly is a good thing, to be honest. And there are inventions
Of
there
course.
as well, a lot. Yeah.
But, okay. Arnoud, sorry, in the microphone, please.
Yes,
Arnoud?
yes. Yeah, but the point that I want to make, there are also very fantastic innovations that give so nice solutions, but sometimes it's like if you're talking to a wall because we want to talk high-tech.
Yeah.
But I want to give one example about a plant here in Saudi Arabia. If you have a date palm, it has roots. It goes deep in the ground and it finds water where water doesn't seem to exist. And what does it do? Is that low-tech, or is that the most sufficient water management system ever created in the world? So let's use the floor. Let's use the ground in Saudi Arabia and other hot climates that's been feeding the people for ages. It doesn't need to be shipped from a container in Rotterdam. It doesn't need to be super expensive to be good. It needs to be smart. It needs to be the right tech.
Hein, Jacco's almost saying he doesn't need your technology.
No, it's not about
No.
the technology is number one. I think the problem, if I look from the water perspective, and I've been educated in the agricultural field as well, so I think the complexity is that we need a sort of a more integrated approach. If I look to how much water is lost in potable drinking water pipes, in general and over the world, it's about an average 30%. So that means you produce potable water here at the production site and it ends up in a house, and in between 30% is lost. There is also countries where 60 to 70% is lost. So we have to start at many levels to reduce that type of losses, because the potable water is needed for surviving of the consumers, and is also needed for food protection. You need a good food system with also safe water, and yeah, you must avoid that it is a competing market. So you have to do a very integrated approach per country, that governments and knowledge institute and the companies, they work together and finding the best solutions.
Yeah.
But it is not to be solved in one session like here. So we have to get more and more together to try to find individual solutions.
And it's unfortunate. I wish we did solve it in one session. That would
be
make our
great.
life
That would be
easier.
great.
Looking at the clock, we have a little bit time left. I want to implement some Q&A, if that is possible. I'm looking at our technical team on the side. Do we have spare microphones? Yeah. Is there anyone with a question to our panel members? I see a gentleman there behind the camera. Please, can you also introduce yourself and on behalf of which company or entity you're talking to?
Thank you for your nice discussion. So this is Shamim. I'm an assistant professor at UC Davis. I listened when you talk about the water issue, and we know it's a big problem in California and also here. But the true thing is, like, when you consider the greenhouse production, if we count the water use for evaporating cooling, it's almost close to the open field production. So as a like lead in the greenhouse manufacture and the production, what do you see the vision to reduce the water use, and what could be the alternate solution to the evaporating cooling?
Arnoud, yeah?
Yes, I think I'm surprised by the assumption that the water consumption per what we call crop per drop would be equal for the open field and the protected horticulture. Was that the question, or did I understand it?
It's not an assumption, it's proved.
It's proven. Okay, well, I think we have, let me say, other proof that producing a kilo of tomatoes can make a difference of about a factor of 5 in producing for open field and for protected horticulture. So I was just wondering where the proof came from, because
Well, I find you still modest.
My
but
question, for clarification,
sorry, maybe not to go in that, but it is an interesting.
I would like to clarify. I'm saying when it's equal to the open field, if you consider the water used for evaporating cooling pad. So if you use the
cooling pads.
yes, if you count the water used for transpiration for plant and also water used for cooling, if you sum up these two, it's almost close to the open field. So in that case, what do you see the solution to kind of bring that water use down, or what could be the alternate solution instead of the evaporating cooling? Because evaporating cooling is very water intensive. Like, and if you consider in Kingdom or in California, the water is pricey.
The funny part is, if I may react to that, last week we were in a pet and fan greenhouse in the state of Qatar. And we were privileged that we had someone with us from the well-known Wageningen University. And there was a pet and fan greenhouse where the fans were placed low. And the professor on behalf of Wageningen University said, like, even if you replace the fans to a higher location, it will save you 30% water and brings you 40% more volume of the crops. These are small things that can already make a difference. So let's not talk about the type of greenhouse or controlled environment agriculture in general, but it is really like, be advised in the right way to make sure that you already save water. Hopefully that answers also your question.
The gentleman is right about the enormous amount of water that we are using in the industry for cooling, and I think
for cooling.
Yeah,
Excuse
so
me.
and that
Yeah.
is a massive amount of water. And I visited a couple of greenhouses here in Saudi. What excited me was that they're working on, could we use different water? And same
Yeah.
as
Yeah, yeah, like Heinz said,
why
yeah.
are we using drinking water for toilets?
Yeah.
Similar question. Why are we using this precious water for cooling? Could
But
we
it is
use salty
reused, right?
water
Yeah, yeah.
instead?
We do that, right? Hein?
In the greenhouse, I'm
Yeah,
not
for the
sure.
cooling water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there will be various water qualities probably. But this is the question where it's always about. How can we look in more detail in the production process, whether it's a greenhouse or a production site on the chemical side or food production side? How can we be more effective in parts of the production? And where can we make, for instance, recycles of these water flows?
Or
So-
save water from other purposes.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that answer the question, sir? Yeah. Anyone else? I see one person raising the hand in the end, halfway. Yes, just there's a microphone on your wall. Mr. Akram, we're a bit over time. Is that okay? That's okay. Thank you. Yes, sir. Hi.
Hi, I am Emil. My background is in agricultural economics. I would like to ask a question, basically with regards to adaptability. When you introduce your technology in the markets where you operate, what are the main impediments? Is it how the farmers they take or they look at your technology? Is it easy to adopt, or what kind of impediments you get, basically? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who can answer or wants to answer the question?
I think it's not about impediments. It's about listening to what the farmer wants and then adapting your offer to suit that. Because every farm is different, every process is different, every greenhouse is different, every environment is different. So the knowledge that the group has and the knowledge that the cluster has is to is to listen to what's there and adapt what products we have in order to suit that local environment.
Thank you. We have to conclude this session. I just got informed that it's almost prayer time as well. So I would like to have a big applause for our panel members. Thank you for your contribution. Also, thank you for the fact that we could showcase a bit of Dutch technology. And tomorrow on Controlled Environment Agriculture, there will be a similar kind of session presented by my colleague, Professor Dr. Mark Tester, at 5 p.m. here on stage as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful Dutch panel. Please, distinguished speakers, join me on the stage to receive your participation trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's program. The conference continues tomorrow with the first panel starting at 3:30. Thank you for your attendance.